for a larger market perspective, we have someone who perhaps has the essence of what FIs are thinking today. Anish Damania, Head Institutional Equities of IDFC Securities. And I say he's appropriate because he's just been speaking to, I think, 600 FI participants who have lined up to participate in their annual India conference that starts tomorrow in Mumbai. Anish, good morning. Thank you very much for finding time for us at a time when you should be very busy. What's the first sense you are getting from the bunch of investors you're speaking with? The second quarter earnings were not very flattering, but they are willing to wait.
Yes, so it's not 600 FI participants, it's total number of participants 600. 600 people have registered for that. Just to give you a flavor, I think a lot of people, most of the people have asked for a lot of meetings for mid-cap companies, where probably either they have just heard about or probably have not heard about. So we have about close to 175 companies doing one-on-one and group meetings, and we have about 15 CEO tracks. So that makes it close to about 190 odd companies which we'll have at our conference. So it's a huge, massive event, and we are seeing slots go full for almost every company which we have. So it's that kind of a participation. I think tremendous response. We are close to about 40 odd FIIs across all geographies which are participating in the conference. So their feeling is that India's story is going to run more, and mid-caps is where a major focus is at this point of time.
Okay. Anish, hi. Good morning. That's an interesting start, actually. We haven't heard that from too many people, that, now there's further interest in the mid-cap space. We'll come to that in a bit. But before that, has the conviction to add more money into India increased in the recent past, in the recent 3 to 6 months? And if yes, what could be the triggers for that?
So I think if you look at it, YTD FII investments are close to about 15 billion in equities and about $25 billion in debt. But when I look at, let's say, the recent past, or last 1 month, we have seen flows of close to $2.5 billion. So the FI money continues to keep on rolling in. And what I feel is that, with this launch of QEs, etc., by the Japanese, and right now, we are seeing increased vigor in some of the stocks which they already own, which is in the, in the pharma and the banking space, and the second thing is into the mid-cap space. So I'm seeing a lot of interest coming back in mid-cap space, or renewed interest in mid-cap space after a lull about 2-3 months back.
Okay. What's the sectoral preferences, mid-caps or otherwise, from the bunch of investors you've been speaking with? I mean, is it logistics for one?
I think we have representation. So we have representations across, in terms of companies across various sectors. Given the size number of companies which are coming, it's a huge representation across sectors. And we have found that wherever there's a niche area and wherever companies are looking at good earnings growth ahead, that has found solid participation, irrespective of which sector it is in. So you might find participation coming in, companies like pipe companies. They were out of flavor for a very long period of time, and now suddenly, despite the fact that they have not done so well in the recent past, there is an interest because A, because of valuations, and B, because of expected earnings growth out there. So we are seeing that. We are seeing a lot of interest in some of the textile names. We are seeing a lot of interest in continued consumer consumption stories. So that continues across the board. So I see wherever earnings growth continues and wherever we have a semblance of earnings growth with lower valuations, I think people are willing to look at that.
You have such an impressive lineup of speakers at your conference, Anish. There's Suresh Prabhu, Minister of Railways, Sunil Munjal of Hero MotoCorp, Deepak Parekh, HDFC, Anil Sardana. So a slew of very impressive speakers. With respect to Suresh Prabhu, what's the sense you're getting? He has great credibility especially in power reforms, etc. But now with his new portfolio, how optimistic is the market?
I think very optimistic. I think the couple of major things which this cabinet reshuffle has done is to bring in, the defense minister, Mr. Parikar, and induction of Suresh Prabhu into the railways ministry. I think two major ministries are being taken by two men of impeccable goodwill and character, and I think there is a lot which people are expecting. I'm sure as time rolls by, you're going to see a lot more things come out of these two men in terms of what they're going to do for their respective ministries.
Okay. Did you get that sense from the investors that they are watching out for some turnaround in railways? Is that a widespread expectation?
Oh yeah, so it's not only a lot of investors who want to just crowd into Honorable Minister's room, but it's also the corporates who are saying that, okay, give us some time off from some meetings and we want to attend this session as well. So it's a kind of huge interest for that particular session.
Okay.
Yes.
All right, just to come back to the numbers, the earnings and the reality that hit us in the second quarter numbers, what did you make of it as a whole? Were there more hits than misses?
Yes, so we were actually a little muted in our expectations. We had expected about 7% growth in earnings and about 5% growth in sales at the start of the quarter. Probably we are among the lowest on the street in that expectation. However, the market is actually a little lower than that as well. So when I look at the Nifty 50 and the BSE 30 companies, sales growth is hardly 1% and profit growth is hardly about 3-odd%. However, when I look at the mid caps, the growth is a lot stronger. In fact, when I look at a cross section of the 175 companies which are coming to our conference, I just did the additions. There, all those companies we have reported the numbers. Sales growth is about 4.5-5% for them, and profit growth is about 11.5 to 12% for these companies. And there's a huge skew towards mid cap in our conference, given the size of given the number of companies which are coming up. So one can see that within the spectrum, the larger companies have shown lower growth, but as you go towards the mid cap and the smaller cap, those companies have started to show a very high level of growth.
Okay. What is the sense you're getting about why some of these pockets, for example, PSU banks, yesterday the day clearly belonged to SBI. What is really driving some of these stocks now?
I think PSU banks, we have become very positive on the PSU banks over the last 1.5 months, and one of the key reasons or 2 or 3 key reasons for that is what we are seeing is that loan growth has become now slower than the deposit growth, which means and this has happened after a very long period of time, which means the liability franchise, which is actually an asset of a bank, is getting its pricing power back. So that is one thing which probably will get factored in as time goes by. The second thing is that now lesser exposure to the economy means the NPA cycle will probably over the next 1.5 years will continue to fall. And this money, excess money, is getting invested in government securities, which today are available at a higher rate of interest. So which means as inflation cools down, we are going to see a sharper fall in interest rate environment, which will benefit all these banks. So what I'm seeing is that on the NIM side, I'm seeing some protection on the trading portfolio. Probably it will surprise the market, and NPA cycle can fall faster than what most people think. And over the last 2 years, a huge amount of provisions have been made for the PSU banks. So the earnings growth cycle for PSU banks looks to me to be better than even the private sector banks. Even in this quarter, that's what it has turned out to be. Incrementally, incrementally ROE will improve for public sector banks. So what I see is that the huge valuation gap which exists between private and public might narrow a little bit as we go forward. But it seems to me that market is talking about now sharper cuts between February and April by as much as 25 basis points in each of those months. So that is the reason probably why we saw one-sided move in some of the PSU banks. And plus, if you look at the State Bank numbers, they have turned out to be better than probably what people expected.
So is that the pick of your pack, State Bank and
Bank of Baroda.
All right.
So we like in the PSU banks, we like that basket. But right now, because it's still early days into calling the NPL cycle to be falling, we prefer to stay with the larger banks. So we like State Bank, Bank of Baroda, and Bank of India in that order. And if one wants to go to the mid cap, we like Union Bank of India.
All right. Well, your excellent case for PSU banks comes on the back of a 4.2% rally in that index yesterday. Anish, you're making a cast iron case for their growth to continue. Thank you very much for joining us with all those conference details, and have a great conference out there.